Alright, the next thing I'm going to do is install the tie rod and the external shift mechanism, the shifting tie rod. Now this is my old one, the skinny one, that's prone to break, and this is the new beefier one. This is about 5.2 millimeters in diameter, and this is closer to 8. So what I want is when I put these ends on here, on either end, I want the distance between them to be between 88 and 92 millimeters. So I'm going to shoot for 90 millimeters. It's in the middle, and see where I end up. So I took my caliper, got the nuts to about 90 millimeters apart, and now I'm going to put a little bit of blue Loctite on these threads, thread these guys in until they're touching, and then tighten them up. Oh, you know, it'll only work one way. One side is right hand threads. The shift lever side is right hand threads. So this will thread in this side. Right up to that lock nut, and then this side is left hand threads. It's a little hard to get used to. Okay, I got both those tie rod ends in there, and the spacing is sitting at 90 millimeters. So throw that in there and see what happens. Okay, I'm going to install my shift mechanism arm on the outside of the case. It just slides like this. The pin goes between that spring, and that's good. Now my small torque wrench, I don't have any crowfoot adapters to use to torque this up, so I'm just gonna do it until it feels tight. So one 10 millimeter wrench fits on the eye of this tie rod end pretty good, and another 10 millimeter wrench on here, and I'm just tightening until I think it's tight, and tighten up. Okay, now I'm about to install my shift shaft, and my model didn't come with an oil pump or an oil pump chain guide. They added that in later models, but all the parts are the same. So I bought the guide. I'm going to try and use it. So it fits right there. The shift shaft will slide right down in there, hold that in place, and hopefully that works good. Okay, I got my oil pump chain guide in there behind my shift shaft. My tie rod's in there. These are tightened up. Now this piece has a little notch at the bottom, and I line that up with this notch in the case. I'm assuming that's what you're supposed to do. So that's all ready to get the bolt put on there, or sorry, the nut put on there. Okay, I got blue Loctite on the threads for the shift arm shaft, and this nut is an 8 millimeter fastener, so it will get torqued to 13.5 foot-pounds. Done. Okay, now I'm going to install the circlips on my shift shaft. One goes tight up here, the other one goes right there. Perfect. Okay, now that my shift shaft is in there, I can put on the oil return line. So blue Loctite on the fasteners. Thread those in there. And those will get torqued to 69 inch-pounds. Okay, I'm going to check my oil change slack. So I have my caliper set at about 10 millimeters. I'm going to pull it up as tight as I can, and from the bottom of the chain measure it down, and the slack's almost exactly 10 millimeters, and it should be between 8 and 10. The service limit's 13, so that chain's still good. Okay, I got my shift drum sitting in the freezer so the bearing can shrink up a bit so it'll fit in the left case a little better. So while I'm waiting for that, I have my water pump mechanical seal here. I'm gonna try and drive it in. The manual says to use a 28 millimeter socket. I have a 27, don't have a 28, so I'm gonna try and use that. Seems to fit over it pretty well. So I'm gonna square that up and then just tap that into place. Get a little off square here. I think that's good. Seals lips tight all the way around. I think that should hold the water up. Okay, I'm gonna stick in the water impeller and shaft. I put a little bit of assembly lube where the shaft meets the oil seal. And then I'll have to push against the mechanical seal until the groove shows up for my snap ring and snap that into place. Water pump shaft snap ring installation. So while pushing on the other end of the shaft, got the groove to show up, and it snapped in there pretty good. Now it's nice and tight against that mechanical seal, ready to go.